Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET Now. Let's continue taking you through the stocks that are moving in trade. Now we have Aditya Arora joining us on the technicals. A very good afternoon to you, Aditya. Thank you so much for joining us on ET Now. And the first stock that we'll be talking about is Vinati Organics. How is this one looking on the charts?
Very good afternoon. I think Vinati Organics is looking pretty good because chemical companies had been in a downtrend for a while, and this stock just stands out because after a long downtrend, this stock is showing very good volumes and it is poised to do well. So this looks pretty bullish on the charts right now.
Okay, that's the word coming in on Vinati, but let's move on and talk about BLS Services. This one is in focus after it reported its numbers. Overall, when you're looking at it, nothing exciting in terms of numbers that came in. It was a weakish set of numbers when you compare on a quarter-on-quarter basis. The revenue was down by around 11%, profits down by 12% as well, and margins, yes, on that front, we've seen an expansion coming in terms of the margins of the company. EBITDA margin 15.3% versus 14.8%. So yes, so on the back of that, we're keeping an eye out on BLS Services, which is the part that was demerged from BLS International. So keeping an eye out on that one. Yes, that's the stock and focus. Keeping an eye out on that.
All right, moving on, let's talk about Genus Power, and that particular counter is in focus on back of its earnings. It's hit a lower circuit of about 10%. And if you look at the stock, it's declining for a fifth consecutive trading session. The company has actually posted a loss as compared to a profit last year, and that's the reason why you're seeing that sort of a downtick coming in for the counter. If you look at Genus Power over the course of this week alone, that's 3 days alone, it's lost about 15%. It's on track to log the biggest weekly fall since March 2020, and this if the trend holds. But yes, dismal earnings coming in for Genus Power, and that's the reason why the stock is locked in low circuit, about 10% today.
Okay, let's move on to the next stock on the technicals, and Ary Drugs. Aditya, when you're looking at the stock in the last 1 year, 41% return. From the October highs, we've seen a bit of a fall coming in, but do you see that coming back to the October high levels anytime soon?
Absolutely. I think the trend in pharma is very encouraging. Overall, the market is doing, overall market is correcting quite a bit since last 1 or 2 weeks, but pharma has been a good hiding space. We have seen good returns in pharma counter in last few months. So I think that outperformance is expected to continue, and I think the October highs would be taken out very soon because the trend is bullish.
All right, Ashesha, let's talk about Prestige Estates, another earnings candidate.
Well, yes, and the stock is reacting negatively to the kind of numbers it reported. The stock is down 3.5% as we speak. Revenues declined by about 22.5% on a year-on-year basis, while margins have largely remained steady. Average realizations in the third quarter rose by about 4% on a sequential basis. But what is important for real estate companies is the guidance that they give for full year. So for FY24, sales guidance stands at about 20,000 odd crores, and they've recorded nearly 16,333 crores of sales in the third quarter. Meanwhile, we also spoke to the management earlier in the day, where the management said that sales to the extent of nearly 50,000 crores are not yet recognized, and debt levels look comfortable at the current position. They are not seeing any cancellations at the moment, and they have a couple of new projects lined up too. So the management commentary is quite positive, but despite that, the stock is reacting negatively to its numbers as we speak, 3.5 to 4% lower.
Okay, that's Prestige Estate for you all. Let's move on, talk about Grasim Industries. And Aditya, Grasim Industries on the charts, what's the view coming in for this one? What should one be expecting? Because after the numbers, especially in terms of talks that came in on the paints foray, which everyone is focusing on closely for them, we saw a run up in the stock. On the charts also, is it a bullish pattern that is shown?
No, it's not bullish. The trend is indicated by color of my tie today. I think the trend is bearish in Grasim, and the news flow is also pretty bearish because recently we heard the news that there could be price cuts in cement prices. So I think the news is bearish, and the patterns are also bearish. So I think downside levels could be achieved over here, about 5 to 10% of cut we can see in this counter. So this looks pretty topish as of now.
that's the view coming in on Grasim. Ankita, let's talk about Indiabulls real estate and why is this particular counter in focus?
Well, Cheryl, Indiabulls is real estate is an earnings candidate, and it's seeing a sharp up move of 5% since morning. Now, this is on the back of the fact that they have narrowed their losses and EBITDA sharply. If you look at their revenues, the revenues were down 24% on a year-on-year basis, but on a year-on-year basis, they have really managed to cut their losses from 236 crores to a 38 crore mark, and that's a sharp cut in the losses. Also, the EBITDA loss has been narrowed massively from 245 crores to merely 33 crores. And on the back of this, Indiabulls is up and about in trade, up 5% right now.
Okay, let's move on, talk about Ultratech then. And Aditya, Ultratech in the last 1 month has been quite muted. Where do you see it headed now?
Pretty mutish, and that is expected to continue because the pattern which I am seeing at the chart is head and shoulder pattern, and today we are seeing a breakdown from neckline. So I think we can see little lower levels in this counter. Currently it's trading at 9730, and I expect levels of 9600 to 9400, and stop loss of 10300 must be maintained, and the trend is bearish.
So move on and talk about BL. The company is in focus today. We're seeing an up move coming in because they've received an order of around 2,282 crores. They've signed a contract which is a value of around 2,167 crores plus taxes. This is with Indian Navy, and also received an additional order worth rupees 114 crores since the last disclosure they made, that was on 30th of January 2024. So on the back of this order wins that they have of around 2,200 crores approximately, we're seeing BEL is in focus, up almost 2% near the day's highest point.
Alright, let's talk about Eureka Forbes then, and that particular counter is seeing a good jump in today's trading session. It saw an uptick of as much as 3.1% on an intraday basis. The company has reported a more than threefold surge in their consolidated net profit, which came in at around 23 crore rupees, and also you saw a revenue uptick of about 13.9%. And post the earnings coming in, the stock saw a huge spike, as you can see it on your screen, but thereon gave up some of the gains, but still holding on to good gains of about 2.3% as we speak.
Let's move on, talk about PFC then. And Aditya, PFC surely has seen a very good run up, right? So from here on, what is the expectation from PFC? Now should one actually start booking out the profits in PFC?
Correct. So I think PFC has seen a stellar run since a long time, since last 6 months or so. Now PSU counters are pretty overheated, and I think it's a good time to take chips off the table, because this counter could be flirting with red color, and probably bearish patterns are there visible on the charts. So I think there's scope for 5 to 10% correction in this counter.
So that's the take coming in on PFC. Before we go to Ashesha to talk about Nuvama, let's take a look at NALCO Pharma, because the numbers are flashing on the bottom of your screen. The stock is also seeing a very good jump, because good set of numbers coming in from NALCO Pharma in the quarter gone by. The consolidated net profit is coming at around 213 crore rupees as against 62 crore rupees a year ago. If you look at the revenue, has seen an uptick of about 54%. It's coming at around 759 crore rupees, while the margins also seen a substantial uptick. 35.3% is the EBITDA margin as against 21.5% for NALCO Pharma. And you can see it on your screen. The stock is reacting very healthily to those earnings. Is now nudging towards the 6% mark in the quarter gone. Rather, the stock price is seeing an uptick of about 6% or so, Vinny.
Absolutely, but it's day 2 of Prime Minister Modi's UAE trip. PM is all set to inaugurate the Abu Dhabi's first Hindu temple. Let's go across and listen into what he has to say.
आयोजन ये दुबई स्टोरी के बेहतरीन उदाहरण है। मैं आपको इस समिट के लिए बधाई देता हूं, इसकी सफलता के लिए शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। साथियों, आज हम 21वीं सदी में हैं। एक तरफ दुनिया आधुनिकता की तरफ बढ़ रही है, तो पिछली सदी से चले आ रहे चैलेंजेस भी उतने ही व्यापक हो रहे हैं। फूड सिक्योरिटी हो, हेल्थ सिक्योरिटी हो, वाटर सिक्योरिटी हो, एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी हो, एजुकेशन हो, समाज को इंक्लूसिव बनाना हो, हर सरकार अपने नागरिकों के प्रति अनेक दायित्वों से बंधी हुई है। टेक्नोलॉजी हर प्रकार से, चाहे वो नेगेटिव हो या पॉजिटिव, एक की डिसरप्टर साबित हो रही है। टेररिज्म आए दिन एक नए स्वरूप के साथ मानवता के सामने नई चुनौती लेकर आ रहे हैं। क्लाइमेट से जुड़े चैलेंजेस भी समय के साथ और बड़े होते जा रहे हैं। एक तरफ डोमेस्टिक कंसर्न्स हैं, तो दूसरी तरफ इंटरनेशनल सिस्टम्स बिखरा हुआ नजर आता है। और इन सब के बीच हर सरकार के सामने अपनी प्रासंगिकता को बचाने का भी बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है। इन सवालों, इन चुनौतियां, इन स्थितियों के बीच वर्ल्ड गवर्नमेंट समिट का महत्व और बढ़ गया है। साथियों, आज हर सरकार के सामने सवाल है कि वो किस अप्रोच के साथ आगे बढ़े।
Welcome back. You're watching Market Fatafat on ET now, and let's talk about Issu Motors then, Aditya. And how is this one looking on the charts to you? Do you see some scope of a good, healthy recovery coming in for Issu Motors, or it'll be other way around?
Yes, I see scope for some good recovery over here. I think auto companies have been doing quite well, outperformance is seen, and I think Issu Motors' story is no different. And I see bullish patterns on the chart. Currently, it's trading at 3884. This could be bought at current price, and target would be 4,000 to 4,100. Stop loss must be maintained at 3750.
Let's move on and talk about Nuvama Wealth then. And Ashesha, this one in focus on the back of its numbers. What's the stock doing?
Well, yes, the stock is soaring in trade today, nearly 12% higher as we speak. Very strong set of numbers that the company has reported. Revenues for the quarter gone by stood at about 841 crores, which is an uptick of a solid 45% on a year-on-year basis. Margins have also expanded to over 50% mark now. So margins came in at 52.9% in the third quarter this year versus 42% that the company had reported same time last year. Profitability has also risen big time this time. Net profit came in at 176 crores, which is nearly doubled on a year-on-year basis. So very strong set of numbers across the board. Margins have also expanded. The stock is gaining over 11% as we speak.
Alright, let's move on then, Ankita, and let's talk about Anthony Waste. Why is this one in focus?
Well, yes, Anthony Waste is an earnings candidate. In fact, the stock is down, absolutely down and out, 10% in trade right now on the back of its quarter 3 results. Clearly, the street has given it a thumbs down. Let's look at the results then. The revenue has come in at 217 crores versus 218 crores. A very flat marginal downtick of 0.2% coming on a year-on-year basis. The net profit was also absolutely flat. Actually, it was 12.8 crores versus 12 crores in the last year. EBITDA was up 49% on a year-on-year basis, and the margins saw a bit of an expansion of 20% versus 13% in the last year. But for now, the street has given it a thumbs down, and the stock is knocked down 10% in trade.
Let's move on, talk about Railtail, and this one is in focus on the back of an order win. They've received an order from Prasar Bharati Broadcasting Corporation of India for designing, development, implementation, operation and maintenance, and the total order value, when you look at it, that's at around 140 crores. So today we are seeing retail is in focus on the back of an order win, up 2% in trade as well on the back of this 140 crores order win.
All right, that is RealTel for you. But one of the recoveries that you need to mark in trading session is the smart recovery that the markets have actually done. You look at Nifty Bank, 1.9% uptick coming in from the day's lowest point. Nifty as well nudging the positive territory now. Remember, at one point in time when the markets had opened, the benchmark indices were down about 0.9%. From there on, we've made a swift and a good recovery. Hopefully, we will end the day in the positive territory. So there you go, 1% uptick coming in on from the day's lowest point for the benchmark indices. Small cap index already made that recovery. Take a look at SBI, because that one is leading the Nifty Bank higher. SBI at one point in time was trading higher by about 5%. There you go, 4.5% uptick coming in for SBI, leading the recovery on the Nifty Bank, 5.5% uptick for SBI from the day's lowest point. So that's SBI for you, looking at a good recovery right now. But let's talk about Fact, because that one came out with its numbers today. And if you look at the revenues, it's coming much lower on a quarter-on-quarter basis. It's coming at around 1,097 crore rupees as against 1,663 crore rupees. The PAT also has seen a substantial cut, 30.3 crore rupees versus 105.2 crore rupees on a quarter-on-quarter basis. The margin 3.9% versus 8% on a quarter-on-quarter basis, and that's the reason why you saw the stock actually take a nosedive. From there on, recovered a tad bit, 2.3% downtick right now for Fact.
That is Fact, but let's move on and Aditya talk about TCS on the charts and what's the view for this one. Not seen an up move in a very long time. Now where should we see it headed?
I see stock going up because it hasn't done anything since so far. Now I think it's doing the catching up and catching up with the general trend, which has been very bullish since a long time, and it broke multi-month high of 4,000 rupees, which was last achieved in Jan 2022. So I think the trend will persist, uptrend will persist for some time, and it has already made smart recovery since 3,400 to 4,000, and I think there's scope for more 200 to 500 points over here. So the trend over here is pretty bullish.
Alright, that is TCS for you, and that is the last stock on this edition of Market Fatafat. Thank you so much, Aditya, as well as Ankita and Ashesha, for joining us on the show, taking our viewers through all the stock stuff in focus. But home buyers now can take a sigh of relief as Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, that's IBBI, has introduced a new amendments for insolvency proceedings in real estate projects. My colleague Asta is here to take us through all the details. Asta, over to you.
Well, indeed, it's a good news for the home buyers that assets in the real estate projects that have been already handed to the home buyers, have been allotted to the allottees, will not be the part of liquidation anymore. So this has been brought by the IBBI, which is the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. Just to explain our audience in simple terms, we can say that the homes which are already bought by the home buyers, have been sold to the home buyers, will not be taken away or be the part of the liquidation anymore, even the builders are bankrupt or are unable to pay their bank debts. So this has come by the IBBI, who has announced 12 amendments to overlook the liquidation process and bring more transparency to the system. Also, it has asked RERA, which is the Real Estate Regulatory Authority, to increase its presence in the system and bring out the compulsory regulations to all the builders who are the parts of the insolvency. So now the home buyers do not have to worry about the builders being bankrupt, because their property which has already been sold to them will not be taken away or be sold any further because of the bankruptcy of the system. So this is a very good news for the home buyers, and it comes under the amendment of Bankruptcy Board of India Regulation, Liquidity Process Regulation of 2016. So it's a very good news for the home buyers in the real estate.
Thank you so much for that update. But with that, we are absolutely out of time on this edition of Market Fatafat. It's a goodbye from Sharon, myself, as well as the team who put this show together.